All right, Nick, Coach says it's not about one guy, but Eagles fans are left watching what they saw from Nick Foles the last 2 games, and they're thinking, oh, Carson Wentz will now fix all of our problems. Is that the case?
Well, I mean, he's not playing corner, so he's not going to fix all their problems, but he's going to drastically upgrade their quarterback position. I mean, that is, even if he is just first game back, 75% of what he was last year, that is a drastic upgrade over to what you have come to expect from Nick Foles, even when you bake in what he did in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. Week 1, which they actually won, Foles was awful. Week 2, Foles wasn't terrible, but the defense was, and they lost that game. Foles actually was pretty good in Week 2. It was his best game, I'd say his 3rd best game as a starter after the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. What the Eagles' issues right now are, they are not creating enough big plays through the air. Wentz should help that, but the wide receiver injuries are going to continue to hurt that, and they are allowing too many big plays through the air. Wentz obviously will have no impact on that. But given who they have after this week, Tennessee, Minnesota, Giants, Carolina, Jacksonville, I think it's really good that Carson gets his feet wet against what I consider a less-than-average defense in Indianapolis. Get back there, get a home game under your belt before you have to go on the road. So the timeline on this is good, but the Eagles' primary issue right now is not quarterback play. To me, it's secondary play, and so that issue will remain.
I think if they want to have an answer long-term for their problems is they need to get back to playing a physical style of football, all right? We know that they have the receiver injuries. You can't make that as an excuse because last year they had injuries all over the roster, and they still won the Super Bowl, including the most important position as quarterback.
Sure.
So when you have that on your resume, you can't come back this year. It's like Aaron Rodgers when they won the Super Bowl. Half his roster and everything, a bunch of starters and everything missing. But the next year they came back, people don't want to hear that because they've already been able to overcome it. Most of their injuries are at wide receiver. So when you look at who they have, Kamar Aiken, Nelson Aguilar, Shelton Gibson, DeAndre Carter. No, he's not my cousin either. All right? Like, they don't have.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. They don't have a whole bunch of weapons even when Carson's coming back. So let's put it on what they have the best in football. The best offensive line and the best defensive line. Because if the defensive line starts getting after the quarterback, you can play a little more coverage and help out that secondary. But let's bring the attitude back to that offense. When Carson is in the game, they rush for 40 more yards than when Nick Foles is in the game. And if they can rush for those extra yards, then it brings back the RPOs. People say, well, is he going to run the ball in RPOs? It's a sound pass protection. And, yes, he's got to be able to run the ball a few times to be able to keep the defense honest. That is the way that Philadelphia is able to cure their problems until they get some of these wide receivers back.
So that you bring up a good point that Doug Peterson actually mentioned, and I think a lot of Eagles fans are wondering if we're going to see the same Carson Wentz, if he's going to go out there and be able to run and they're going to let him play the same game. Coach said he's not going to change the way he coaches him at all. It's going to be the exact same game plan. What does he mean by that?
He said he's going to call the same exact game plan. He's coached Carson up as far as his overall health. Coaches tell their starting quarterbacks how important they are, and when you get in harm's way, we need you to be safe with the football. That doesn't change because Carson's in his 3rd year. That doesn't change because he's got some knee injuries. I mean, if you look at the league, 20% of the guys got knee injuries. Coach, you can't go out and babysit them. No, you have to be able to play within your injuries and your limitations. So he will still be athletic. Carson wasn't. Let's not try to create that he was Michael Vick. No, he's an athletic quarterback who plays in the pocket, all right? When he ran with the football with the Rams, any quarterback would have gotten hurt if they got sandwiched between those 2 defenders. But he is a good athlete, and he's got to be able to use his athleticism. That's one of the things that makes him different, and that's something that I'll be watching for.
And we've talked a lot about how there's a long history in this league for teams that aren't the New England Patriots to make the Super Bowl and the next year come out a little flat. And that's what I've seen from Philadelphia this year. Now, I think Wentz coming back could be a shot in the arm for them, not just because you have a better quarterback, but as far as a team almost rallying point. Because you can't – they gave up a 75-yard play to start the game against Tampa, and then gave up another 75-yard play to a tight end, which was 50 yards were yards after catch. That, to me, is a team that was not as sharp as they were last year. That was not paying attention to detail the way they were last year. You saw them against Atlanta, first game of the year, unveiling of the banner. Atlanta's first drive, all the way downfield to the 1-yard line. And
Second drive,
back down the field. I mean, so you have seen a team that all this talk last year about underdogs, no one believes in us, that really did seem to at least keep them at a level that they have not reached this year. Now, they're 1-1. It's fine. 1-1 without your starting quarterback. You'll take it even if they feel like they should have won the Tampa game. Now I just want to see. The Eagles haven't looked like the Eagles this year.
No.
At least the Eagles from last year. And we can't say it's because Carson wasn't there, because they looked like the Eagles without Carson. They looked like the Eagles as far as how attacking their defense was, how sharp their coaching was. They have looked like a team that won the Super Bowl and is easing its way into the year after a long year. Maybe getting your starting quarterback back for the first time since that Rams game will flip the switch for some of these guys.
We shall see. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.